Okay then. Today we are going to discuss about the file system, file sharing and the protection. Yesterday already we discussed about file sharing, protection and file mounting. But let me revise the same topic again for you. So first of all, what is a file system mounting, right? So in order to access the file, you need to mount the file system, right? So where can we mount? That point is called as a mount point. At the mount point, we can attach file to another file system. And then you can attach one file system to the directory structure or a file system, right? Where we can attach the file system at the mount point. Let me explain you with an example. So we observe here, this is the existing file system and B is an unmounted partition, right? So now this particular partition, follow the cursor please. So this is a partition, unmounted partition. That means detached one. It is not attached to any file system. It is a detached partition, right? So this particular partition I want to attach here at the user. That means that users is the mount point where I want to attach this particular file system. Okay. In order to mount the file system, there is a command called mount mount for attaching the file system. For detaching the file system, there is another command called umount, umount, right? For attaching, mount, and for detaching, umount, right? So if you observe here, this is an existing file system. The forward slash indicates that it is a home directory. Under it, we have a users. Users have two subdirectories called Bill and Fred. Again, Fred has a subdirectory called help. So now for this existing file system, I want to attach this particular partition. Where I want to attach? Here I want to attach. So this is called as a mount point. There I want to attach this one. If we attach this particular partition at a mount point, then obviously it will be look like this. Observe here. So in the earlier diagram, we have under the users, we have a Bill Fred, and under the Fred, we have a help. But if after attaching, so this is the mount point. After attaching, so under the users, we have a Sue, Jane, and under the Jane, we have a Prog and Dog. So that means we have attached the file system under the users, right? So that is called as a mounting. Mounting means attaching a file system or a partition to the existing file system where we need to mount. So that particular location is called as a mount point. Here users is the mount point. So follow the cursor please. Users. Here I want to attach this particular partition. So after attaching, so the thing will be look like this. Okay. So that is about file mounting. So file mounting is for attaching partition to the existing file system where we want to attach that particular location is called as mount point. And the next concept is called as a file sharing. So what for a file sharing? As the name indicates, if one file want to many persons or many users are willing to share the same file, then definitely there should be some protection, right? Only one file is shared to many of the people, then obviously there is a need of protection. So sharing may be done through the protection schema. Okay. So if it is a distributed system, there are multiple ways, right? So for example, if our computer may be used by multiple people. So I am the main admin and some other two fellows are also accessing my system. Those two fellows are act as a guests and I am the host and I am the admin to my computer, and two of my friends are also using the computer. So obviously, for two of my friends have a different permission, and myself have different permissions to access the files. That means we need to have some protection mechanism so that Unauthorized person should not access the files. Unauthorized means the person who are not having the credentials. For example, there is a Gmail. You want to access your Gmail account. What you need to do? You need to give your user ID as well as a password. Then only you are able to enter and you are able to read the inbox messages, or you are able to send a mail. Like that, in order to access the computer, initially you need to give password. Then only you can open your computer. Like for everything, so you want to mm, um, provide some security, whether it is a file or it may be a device. You want protect something against the other people, then obviously you need to go for some protection mechanisms, right? If it is a single system also, if my number of people, multiple users are using a same device and all are allowed to enter into the machine, then there is a need of providing the protection to the files which are available in the machine. So obviously, if it is a distributed system, what is distributed system? Distributed system means a number of computers are connected together via the network, and all the computers or machines are available in different locations. So all of them are connected via the network and they are distributed geographically. So that is the reason why it is called as distributed system. Right? In the distributed system, the files may be shared across the network. Okay, how can we share the files across the network? So there is a common method called as a network file system. NFS is a common distributed file sharing method. So with the help of NFS, we can share the files uh, to the distributed systems. Okay, and the next one. So file sharing multiple users. If n number of our users are using, who are having what permissions? Myself, I am the owner of a computer. Myself, I am the owner of a file. And two of my friends are not owner of that particular device, or neither owner of the device, nor they are not the owner of the files. Then obviously, I can protect my file so that other persons cannot modify it, right? So that what I can do, I can protect my file by giving some permissions, right? So how can I give a permission? The file have three types of permissions: read permission, write permission, and execute permission. So in the later topic, we came to know what is a file protection. So meanwhile, so each and every individual have an user ID. That thing you need to know. So user ID is used to uniquely identify the user. So based upon the user IDs, we can give the permissions and protections for each and every user. And the group ID is a ID for group of users. Okay, for group accessing. So user ID is for individual access, whereas a group ID is for group access of a file. Okay. And next, in earlier, this one is a file sharing for a multiple users, and the next topic is a file sharing, the remote file system. So what is a remote file system? What is a remote file system? Remote file system means remote machine. What is a remote machine? That means the machine is not available in front of you. The machine is available somewhere else, and you try to access the file which is available in the remote machine, right? Remote machine is the machine is not visible to you. The machine is available somewhere else, and you are trying to access the machine. Then you are called as a remote user, and wherever you are, you can access the files remotely, right? So we can use the three types of mechanisms. The first one is a FTP. So what is FTP? So file transfer protocol. So with the help of this protocol, we can send a file from one machine to another machine. And the next one is a distributed file system. So as I told you earlier, so a distributed file system means all the systems are located geographically. They are not at under one roof. Okay, one roof in one room. So all the machines are separated geographically. So those type of machines are called as a distributed systems. So those distributed systems are connected via the network. And the third one is a world wide web. You can access the file from the internet by using a world wide web. Okay. And next, the main thing we need to discuss here is a client server model. So what is a client mission and what is a server mission? Usually client sends a request to the server, and the server process the request and send back the result to the client. So one server may have any number of clients. So what is the role of server here is server has to process the request sent by the client. Okay, the client is a machine which is connected to the server via the network, and client sends the request to the server, and server process the request and send back the result to you, right? So there are two types here for communication protocols. The one is a NFC and the second one is a CAFS. So what is NFS? NFS is for network file system, which is for Unix client server file sharing protocol. So what is a protocol? So protocol or a set of rules or agreement between the communication parties. Here the communication parties are client and server. The client and server communication need to be possible. So for that we require some protocol. So if it is Unix, then we go for NFS. If it is a Windows, we need to go for CAFS. NFS stands for Network File System and CAFS stands for Common Interface File System Protocol. So these two protocols are used for client server communication. Okay, that means the client server is not visible to us, right? Can anyone found the Gmail server? No. Still we can access the files from the Gmail server. That's it. The client sends a request and server processes the request based upon the user ID and password. If you give a correct user ID and password, then only you are eligible to access the inbox, right? And the next, file sharing and failure models. Whenever you try to access the things from the remote machine, obviously there is a chance of failures. So it may be a network failure or a server failure. The Gmail server shuts down, or it may have any problem, then obviously you cannot get back the mail from. So earlier, a couple of days ago, the Gmail server, we are unable to process the Gmail server for some minutes, I think so. So if the server is shutting down and the server have some problem, we cannot get the details from the server. And if the network failure, we cannot make the communication possible. That means client cannot send a request to the server and server cannot send back the reply to the client. If the network fails, client server communication is not possible. And the file sharing is not possible if the network is failed or the server is failed. Okay, how can we recover from the failure? So obviously we can recover from the failure. So what we need to do is, so we need to identify the status of that particular request. Okay, if it is an NFS, network file system, so each and every request have some information. So based upon the request status, we can recover from the failure. Okay, but it is a less secure one. Have you got my point? So under the file sharing, what you need to write? So follow the cursor, please. The file is shared among multiple users. Obviously, there is a need of protection. That means sharing must be done through the protection. So one file is shared by many. For example, in your home, there is a birva, right? Everyone has an access to the birva. So what you have to do? So some protection must be there. So what is the protection? Keys. The person who are having the key only access the birva. In a similar fashion, when multiple people are using same file and when multiple users are sharing the same file, then that sharing should be done through the protection. Okay, and we can share the file to the distributed files by using a distributed file system. And the next one is even you can protect your files by using a user IDs and group IDs. And how can we transfer the files? By using FTP you can transfer, and we can get the files from the World Wide Web, and we can share the files from one place to another place. We can send the files using a distributed file system. And if it is a client server model, if it is a Windows, we need to go for a protocol called as CAFS. If it is Unix, we need to go for NFS. NFS stands for Network File System, whereas CAF is a Common Internet File System. And the next one is, while you are sharing the files via the network, so obviously there is a chance of a failure. So it may be a network failure or it may be a server failure. So in the either case, you cannot share the file. And next, regarding the file sharing and consistency. So consistency means when how multiple users are accessing the same shared file. So obviously the net data need to be same. So for example, take your bank account example. So in your account there is a 10,000 rupees. Okay. So you are given your ATM card to your friend and you went to the bank. So the amount balance is now 10,000. So when you enter into the bank, you are try to deposit 5,000 at the bank, and your friend by using your ATM card, she is willing to withdraw 5,000 rupees. Okay. So obviously, what need to be done? So at the end of both the transactions, the total balance amount need to be 10,000 after the two operations. That means for both of them, what is the account balance visible to both of them? So for the person who went to the bank, they need to while doing the deposit operation, the amount need to be 10,000. So when the other person went to the bank, there he want to withdraw the amount. So what is the withdraw amount? 5,000 rupees. Okay, for both of them the account balance need to be 10,000, right? So that is 10,000. The balance amount is here the common data, shared data. That data need to be same in all the places. Even if you go to the ATM also, it need to be 10,000. In your mobile, if you want to check the balance from your net banking, it need to be 10,000. And if you want to go for bank transaction, there also it need to be appear like 10,000. Okay, that means when when the data is shareable to many, the data need to be same, and that is called as a consistency. Okay, so there are two types of things to maintain the semantics, consistency semantics. The first one is the Andrew file system, and the second one is a Unix file system. So if it is a Unix file system, writes to open file visible immediately to others of the same open file. For example, when multiple persons are open a file, three persons are open a same file. One person, it changes the value. For example, the value of x is 10. So for three person, whenever they open the file, x equal to 10, x equal to 10, x equal to 10. One person is trying to modify the things. That means they want to increment the x value by 1. So the x value, whenever the x value is 11, so automatically it need to be appear for all the persons same, right? So those are called as a consistency semantics. Okay. And the next one is the Andrew file system. Andrew file system is for a sessions, has a session. What is a session? Session means before communication there should be a session establishment need to be happened. So once the session is established, then the two person can able to communicate with each other. So while you are booking an online tickets, or while you are booking a movie tickets, the session was established. So within the timeout, you need to do the modifications. So that is called as a session. And coming to file protection, so as I told you earlier, when the file is shared among multiple users, then there is a chance of misusing a file. So in order to avoid such a thing, so we need to protect the file from the unauthorized access as well as the misuses. So how can we protect the file, right? So the file has a owner. The owner means creator, the who creates the files, can control the file accessing. How can they control the file access? There are different types of file access control mechanisms. So we can control the read operation, we control the write, we can control execute, we can control append, delete, and list. So all these things we can control. How can we control? There are commands to control, or commands to uh, provide access to the files. So let me explain you about three different types of accesses here. So there is a read access, write access, and execute access. Read means the value is 4, write means the value is 2, and execute means the value is 1. So for the owner means the creator of a file. For creator, we need to give total all the three permissions. All the three permissions. Read permission 4, write permission 2, and execute permission 1. 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. So owner is having all the three permissions RWX. R1. One indicates he has that access permission. Write access permission is there. Execute action permission is there. So 1 1 1 means total 7. Read for 4, 2 for write, 1 for execute. Whereas coming to group, only read and write permission. So read, write. There is no execute permission. That is the reason why 0. And for the public, here in this example, I am giving execute permission. So it is only 1. That means 761 means you want to give read, write, execute permission for the file to the owner, and you want to give only read, write permissions to the group, and you want to give only execute permission for the others. Okay. For example, there is a file called game. Okay. You want to give permissions like 761. So obviously there is a command called as a chmod. Chmod means changing mode. Mode means mode of permissions. So how you want to change? You want to give 7. 7 means read, write, execute permission to the owner, read, write permission to the group, and only execute permission for the public. Okay. Now we want to change again. So let me explain you the same with another example. So there is a file called game. In our example, there is a file called game. So what you want to give? So earlier it was like this: chmod 761, and the file name is game. The first 7 indicates read, write, execute, and the second 3 indicates only read, write, and the third no execute, and the third one indicates only execute. The first 3 is for owner, the second 3 is for group, and the last 3 is for others. Have you got my point? So what is 761? I already told you. For read operation the value is 4, and for the write operation the value is 2, and for execute operation the value is 1. So I want to give all the permission to the owner. So 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. And next for group I want to give only read and write permission. So 4 plus 2 is 6. For others I want to give only execute permission. So that is the reason why 1. So now this, I want to change the mode again. I want to give read, write, execute permission to the owner, and I want to give only execute permission to the group, and I want to give read and write permission to others. Then what will be the command? This is my wish. So obviously what is the command? Chmod. I want to give read, write, execute to the owner. That means 4 plus 2 plus 1. That is 7. And I want to give only execute permission for the group. Execute means only 1. So 1. And I want to give read and write permission to the others. So read and write means 4 and then 2. So what is the name of the file? Game. Are you understand? So likewise we can changing the mode. So likewise there are 2 more commands to change the owner of a file. So for changing the owner of file, chown. For changing the group name of a file, chgrp. Chgrp is for changing the group. Changing group name. So what is chown? Ch means change. To change the owner of file or directory. So these are the commands. Whereas chmod, chmod means changing mode or permissions, both are same. Right? So likewise we can protect the file from the other persons, right? So the owner has an ability to change the permissions. And next, if you observe here, so these are the file controls. If you go to the properties, then you came to know general security. Under security, it will be look like this. If it is a simple Unix directory, you can identify. So these are the file names or directory names. If the whether how can we know whether these are the directories or files? Lib is a directory or a file. How can we know? So here it is. If it is a D, then it indicates that it is a directory. Mail. Here the first letter is a D. That means it is a directory. Test. It is a directory. Okay. So observe here. This is a hyphen. No D is present here. Hyphen means it indicates that program is a file. Program.c is a file. How can I know? Here it is hyphen. Right. And next private, doc, student. All these are the directories. Whereas intro.ps, I cannot know whether that is a file or a directory. How can I know? So based upon this one, first character. Okay. And next three, nine set. This 9 set indicates the permissions. First 3 is for owner, and the second 3 is for group, and the third 3 is for others. What are the permissions given to the owner? For intro.psc, what are the permissions given to the owner? Read permission, write permission, and then no execute permission. What are the group permissions given? Read permission, write permission, and then no execute permission. And next, what are the permissions given to the others? Only read permission. Okay. There are 3 types of users. That thing you need to understand. How many types of permissions are there? There are 3 types of permissions. And how many number of users are there? There are 3 types of users. What are the 3 types of three types of users? Owner or a creator of a file, and then a group, and then others. In Unix we can call it as a UGO. U means user or a owner, G means group, and O means others. Here the starting letters are OO, right? Don't get confused. So owner or user, both are same. So U, and for group G, and then others O. These are the 3 types of users. And what are the 3 types of permissions? There are 3 types of permissions. These are the 3 types of users. 1, 2, 3. What are the 3 types of permission? Read permission,
Read, write,
write,
execute.
and then execute permissions. So read is indicated by R, write is indicated by W, execute is indicated by X. Okay, so these are the 3 permission. And what are the values? Read 4, and for write 2, and for execute 1. So this is one way of giving a permission to the file. There is another way of giving a permission. So here if you observe 7, 6, 1 like that we are giving. So there is another way of giving a permissions too. So what is another way of changing the permissions? That is, earlier one is octal. Why? Because we have a read 4 value, and for write 2, and for execute 1. Total 7. So that is called as octal way of changing the permission. And the second one is a symbolic way of changing the permission. Chmod, for the user, I want to give read write permission. And next for the group, I want to give execute permission. And for the others, I want to give read write permission. What is the file name? Game. Okay. So after giving this line, what you need to do? You need to long list the file. ls space minus l game. So whenever you are long listing a file, long list. Whenever you are long listing a file, so automatically game is a file. Hyphen. For me, game is a file in my example. So hyphen. And then what are the permissions given to the user? Read write permissions. RW. And there is no execute permission. And then the first three over for the user. And the next three only execute permission for the group. That indicates no read permission, no write permission, only execute permission. These three is for group. So what about the others? Only read and write, no execute. And the hard link count is 0. And the owner of the file is MK. And the department is CSC. And the size of the file is 20 MB. And when was it created? 3, 4, and next 18, 20, 20. What is the file name? Game. So these are all called as attributes. This is a type of the file, and this all these are the permissions, and this is the hard link count, owner, and then group, and this is the size of the file, and the time and date created, the last modified, the date and time, and this is the file name. So all these are called as attributes of a file. Okay. So my question here is, if you want to grant the permission, we are using plus symbol. If you want to revoke the permission and if you want to remove the permission, then what you need to do? Simple. You want to remove, then O minus R. That means we are revoking read permission for the others. That means minus is for revoke the permission. Revoke. Plus is for grant the permission. Okay. chmod u plus rw g plus x, and instead of giving read and write permission, you want to remove the write permission. For example, you want to remove the write permission, minus w. So automatically what happened? So already read and write permissions are there for the others. So now we want to remove, already removed. Now the command is this one. So automatically when you are long listing the file again, so what will appear here? So automatically, I don't want to rewrite the entire thing. So let me change this one. So now read write permission for the users, and next only execute permission for the group, and I would like to revoke the permission. Earlier it was RW. Now I don't want to give write permission to the others. So obviously only read permission. So I'm using two symbols here. Plus is for granting and minus is for revoking. So we are using two symbols for granting the permissions and revoking the permissions. So that is the reason why it is called as a symbolic way of changing the permissions. CH means change. Mod means mode. Mode shortcut. Mode means permissions. For changing the permissions, we have a command called chmod. So there are two ways for changing the permissions of a file. First one is a symbolic way of changing, and the second one is octal way. Octal means we are giving values. Read 4, write 2, and execute 1. Okay. So this is about all these are the long listing. When you long listing the things, it will be look like this. The first one is a type of the file. If it is a file, it is a hyphen. If it is a directory, private is a directory, so it is a D. indicates D. And then the nine set permissions for the owner, group, others. And this 1, 5, 2, all these are the hard link count. Next column. So next column is owner or creator of the file. And the next one, group name. And this one is the size of the file or directory. And the date and time and the file or directory name. Okay. So when we long list the file or directory, it will be look like this. So that is the end of this chapter, and this particular unit have three partitions. The first part is over. So the next one is a file system implementation, right? Under the file system implementation, we need to talk about file system structure, file system implementation, directory implementation, allocation methods, free space management. So up to this you have in your syllabus. So the next of the part is not there in your syllabus. What are those? File system structure. We no need to talk about all these things. These things not required for you according to your syllabus. So these are the things we need to discuss under file system implementation. The first one is a file system structure, and the next one is a file system implementation, and the next one is a directory implementation, and the next one allocation methods, and the last one is a free space management, right? So let me start with the file system structure. So these are the objectives of this particular chapter. So at the end of this particular session, when you are able to answer the questions like describing the details of implementing local file system and directory structures, and how can we implement the file system, and how can you implement the directory structure. And next one, you are in a position to describe the implementation of remote file system, and then you need to have a capability to discuss about block allocation and free block algorithms and trade-offs. So by the end of this particular session, you need to answer all those things. The first concept, as I told you earlier, the first concept is a file system structure. So coming to file system structure, first of all, what is a file? I already told you when you discuss file concepts. Okay, let me rewind for you one more time. So what is a file? File is a collection of related information, or file is a collection of records. It is a logical storage unit. What it contains? The file contains collection of related information. Employee file. What it contains? The file consists of information about the employees. Student file. What the student file consists of? It is the information related to the students. Okay. Likewise, each and every file contains the information, not information, related information. Okay. Salary file. It consists of all the employees' salaries. Okay. Marks file. What it contains? It contains the information about the marks. Okay. That is the reason why the file is a collection of related information. Coming to file structure. So file structure is a logical storage unit. Okay. File system, where the files are available, where the file system is available. So the file system is stored in the disk, called as secondary storage area. Okay. And next, users can access the files, they can store the file, we can retrieve the files from the disk, and we can store the files to the disk. You can delete the file, you can create the file, you can store the contents, you can rewrite the information of the file. Like that, whatever the operations you can perform on a file, we can perform the operations in efficient and convenient manner. Okay, why? Because how can we easily store the information onto the disk? How can we easily retrieve the information from a disk? And how can we search for a file? How can we create a file? So all these things we can create them in a convenient fashion and we can access them in an efficient manner. Why? Why? Because all the file systems are stored in the secondary storage area called disk. So disk has some special characteristics. Because of that characteristics only, we are able to perform the operations with a convenient and efficient manner. So what are the characteristics of a disk? Disk provides in-place rewrite and random access. So what is in-place rewrite? In-place rewrite means whenever you want to, uh, sorry, so whenever you want to read the information, we can read the information block from the disk. And whenever you want to read the information, you can read from the disk. Whenever you modify the content of the disk, we can modify the contents. So first of all, the disk is divided into tracks. You need to know the tracks are divided into sectors and the sectors are divided into blocks. That means disk has some blocks, right? So at any moment of time, you can read the content from the block and you can modify the contents of the block. Okay, so whatever the operations you can do. Okay, now so that is on the same place. And for example, when you want to read the contents, you can read the contents. In the same place, you want to read, so modify the contents, you can modify the things. So that is the first characteristic of a disk. What is it? In place. A disk can be rewritten in place. Disk provides in place rewrite means the disk can be rewritten in a place. That means it is possible to read a block from the disk, modify the block and write it back into the same place. That is called as disk provides in place rewrite. And what is the second characteristic? Random access. So random access means a disk can access directly any block of information either sequentially or randomly. Are you got my point? You can read the disk from block by block, like that sequential you can read the disk, or directly you can jump to the particular block. I want to read the information from the 14th block. You no need to go one after the other, like one after the two, two after the three, three after the four, like that. We no need to go to the 14th block. So directly you can go to the 14th block. Okay, that is called as a random access. As I told you earlier, so IO operations means input output transfers performed to the disk in the form of blocks. Okay, a block is usually 512 bytes. It may be a more than, depending upon the capacity of the disk, the block size may be vary. Usually it is a 512 bytes. That means you can read a block or you can write to a block. Okay, that means all the IO operations are performed based on the blocks. Okay, and next, what is the important one you need to understand next is a file control block. So what is a file control block? File control block means it contains information related to the file. So what a file consists of? I already told you each and every file has a file name, size of the file, owner of the file, permissions of a file, and then when it was created, when it was last modified, and what is the inode number of the file. What is inode number of the file? Inode number means, I already told you in the last class, two files may have a same name, but two files does not have a same number. That is called as inode number. Two students might have the same name, but the two students should not have the same register number, right? So Satvik, maybe the two classmates of your class, but both the Satviks does not have the same register number. Likewise, in the system also, there are same file names, but each and every file has its own inode number. Inode number is uniquely identify the file. Register number is for uniquely identify the student. Likewise, inode number is uniquely identify the file. Okay, so likewise each and every file has some information, some attributes. What are the attributes? What are the information about the file? what is the file name, what is the inode number, what is the size of the file, who created the file, what is the group name of the file, what are the hard links to that particular file, what is the size of the file, date and time of creating a file, permissions of a file. All these are the information related to a file which is available in the file control block. Okay, and the next one is a device driver. What is a device driver? So device driver controls the physical device. Okay, so for example, keyboard is a device. So you want to, in order to access the keyboard, keyboard's drivers need to be installed in your computer. Then only the computer can detect the keyboard. For example, you want to attach a webcam. Nowadays, everyone requires a webcam in order to go through the online classes, right? So for that, what you need to do, so webcam is not available for your computer. For that, you want to purchase a webcam. So you purchase a webcam and you connected via the USB cable, you connected the particular webcam to your computer. So whenever you connect the webcam to the computer unable to detect the webcam. Why? You are already connected with a wire, right? Still it is not able to identify the webcam. Why? What is the reason? The reason behind it is the device has a device drivers. So that is a software. Device driver means a software. Webcam is a hardware. So that hardware need to be detected by your computer, right? How can the computer detect your hardware? So for that you need to install the device drivers. Device driver of a particular webcam. Whenever you install the device driver software in your computer related to the webcam, so then only the computer can detect the webcam. Similarly, if it is a printer, printer is a hardware device. Whenever you want to take a printout, obviously the printer need to be connected to your computer. Once the printer is connected to your computer with a wire or a wireless manner, the printer has to be detected by your computer. How can it possible? So first you need to install the device driver of a printer. For example, you purchase HP printer or a Canon printer. So that Canon printer device driver need to be installed in your computer. Then only your computer can detect the printer. Likewise, you purchase HP scanner. How can the computer can detect that particular scanner? You need to install the HP scanner device drivers into your machine. Then only your device can detect that particular device. Okay, your computer can detect the particular device. So device drivers are used to control the physical device. Without device drivers, it cannot possible to send a command and it cannot possible for you to take the printout from the printer. Okay, whatever the commands given by you are not at all able to understand by the devices which are connected to the computer. So for that purpose, you need to install the device drivers. Then only you can work with the physical devices which are connected to your computer. It may be a keyboard, it may be a mouse, or it may be a printer, or it may be a scanner, or it may be webcam. So whatever the devices which are hardware devices which are connected to your machine, so all those things are identified by the machine with the help of a device drivers. Device driver is a software. Okay. This is all about the introduction, and next we want to know about the file system. So how the file system, file system structure, how the file system will be organized. So the file system will be organized into layers. The file system is organized into layers. So what are the layers? So these are the layers. So anyhow, the time is not sufficient for us to discuss the entire layered file system. So meanwhile, in the today's class, I will explain you in a shorter manner. In the, tomorrow's class, we will discuss in detail. So these are the layers available in the layered file system: application program, logical file system, file organization module, basic file system, I/O control, and the devices. So if you observe the arrow marks, the information, the user interact the application program, and the, whatever the command given by the user will be passed through to the next layer, next layer, next layer, next layer, next layer. Finally, it will reach the device. For example, your task is to take the printout. That is your task. So automatically you want to print the file. That is your task. You need to interact the application program. The user interacts the application program. From that particular print request will be passed to the logical file system, and then it will go to the file organization module, and then it will go to the basic file system, and then it will go to the IO control. Finally, it reaches to the device. Okay, so there you have a printer, so that the printer, with the help of a printer, we can take the printout. Or else if you want to read the file, so for example 14th block you want to read block number 14, and you want to read the information from a file. 14th block information you want to read. So obviously, so the request has to start here, and then it will be forward to the logical file system, and then it will forward to the file organization module, and then it will forward it to the basic file system, and then it will forward it to the IO control. At last it will be reached to the device. So there we can read the information from a disk. Disk is a hardware device. Earlier it was a printer. In order to take the printout, the device required is printer. Now you want to read the information from a file. The file is available in the disk. Disk is a hard disk is a device, secondary storage. So from that you need to read the file block number 14. So read operation will be performed. Okay, so that is the thing. So this is about a layered file system. So what we have discussed today, what is a file and where the file system resides, and what is about a file control block, and what are the characteristics of a disk, and what is a device driver. And next this is about the introduction one. And next coming to the coming to the previous chapter. So today we have discussed about file mounting. File mounting means attaching a files partition to the partition file system to the existing file system. So where we mount is called as a mount point. You can attach the file system to the existing one, or you can detach the file system from the existing one, right? So the point where we attach the file system is called as a mount point. And then sharing the files among multiple users, and sharing the files in order to share the file the multiple users, you need to have a user IDs to whom you want to share the file, and what type of permissions you have to give. Based upon the user ID, you can distinguish the users to whom you want to give all the permissions, to whom you want to control accessing, to whom you give write permission, to whom you want to give the read permission. So all those things we can give based upon the user IDs. Until we can give the access to the group of people by using a group IDs. And next file, this is about file sharing among multiple users. And the next one is a file sharing to the remote file system. So obviously remote file system means the we that the file system is not with us. The machine is somewhere else, and from anywhere you can access the files. How can we access the information from the remote machine? How can we access a file from the remote machine? There are a number of ways. And next, distributed file system concept you need to talk here. And the next, www, that means World Wide Web. We can access the files by using a World Wide Web internet. And next, FTP. FTP is for transferring the file from one machine to another machine. FTP is a full file transfer protocol. And next you need to talk about a client server communication. Client sends a request, and server has to process the request and send back the result to you. So in order to make the client server communication possible, we require a protocol. So if it is a Unix system, the protocol is different. If it is a Windows operating system, the protocol is different. If it is Unix, that is NFS. If it is a Windows, it is CAFS, Common Internet File System. And next, as we are communicating the information between the client and server, definitely there is a need of a network. Okay, once the network is failed, or once the server gets down, we cannot get the information from the server. Okay, we cannot get the file from the server, or we cannot communicate with the server. Okay, so in order to recover from the failure, so we need to know the status of that particular request. Okay, based upon the status of the request, we can recover from the failure. And the next one, when you are sharing your file to the multiple users, obviously you need to maintain some consistency. What is consistency? The information need to be same in all the places. Like your balance amount. The balance amount need to be same in the bank. It need to be same in your ATM while you enter, when you are enter into the ATM and check for the balance, and it need to be same when you're checking the balance using a net banking. So in all the places, the balance amount need to be same. It should not be vary. At one place it is 10,000. At one place it is 20,000. At one place it is 15,000. It should not be like that. Everywhere the balance account amount need to be same. Okay, that is called as a consistency. So for consistency, you have two things. One is Andrew file system, and the second one is a Unix file system. Okay, Unix file system. Once the file is open uh, by the multiple number of people, I am open one file. The same file is opened by you, and the same file is opened by your friend. So all the three are using the same files. So if I do any of the modification in the file, the modification need to be known to you both immediately. Okay? That semantics we need to maintain, so that whatever the file write operations, that write operation immediately reflect to the every open file. Okay, that semantics we need to maintain. For that we have two things: Unix file system, and the second one is a AFS file system. So AFS is for session semantic, right? Writes only visible to the session starting after the file is closed. And the next, coming to file protection. So coming to file protection, each and every file has a owner. There are three types of users. One is a owner of the file or a creator of the file, and the second one is a group of the file, and the third one is a others. Three types of the users: owner or the user, and the next one is a group, and the third one is a other. For them we need to provide some protection. To whom we need to give what permissions to whom. There are three types of permissions: basically read, write, and execute. And we can access the files in different ways. It may be a read, and we can use a file for read operation, or write or execute, append, delete, and we can list the files of a directory. So we can control the access of the files. How can we control the access? So based upon the command, there are different types of commands for controlling the access: symbolic way as well as octal way. So for read the value is 4, and for write the value is 2, and for the execute the value is 1. To whom you want to give all permissions, you need to give the value 7. No, you want to give only read and write operations permission, then you want to give the value 6. For only execute, you want to give 1. For only read, you want to give 4. Sorry, for only read, you need to give 4. For only execute, you want to give 1. For read, write, execute, you want to give all the permission, then you need to give 7 is the number. So this is about long listing a file. If you long listing the file or directory, then you came to know what are the permissions to individual. Here three sets of permissions. The first three set RW hyphen indicates there is only read write permission for the owner. Read write hyphen, that means only read write permission for the group. And the R hyphen hyphen, this is the third set, only read permission for the others. Only read permission, no write and execute for the others. Only read and write for the group. Only read and write for the users. So these are the permissions. Okay. After that, we had discussed about file system structure. Initial concept. What is a file? File is a collection of related information. File system means a logical storage unit. Where the file system resides? The file system resides on the disk. What is the need of storing the files in a disk? The first point is disk is a secondary storage area. That means we can permanently store the file system. Secondary storage area is for permanent storage, storage purpose. We are using disk for permanent storage purpose, right? All the file systems are reside in the disk. Okay, so that we can create a file and we can delete the file, we can modify the file, whatever the operations we can perform in the file, we can perform with a convenient and efficient manner. Okay, so what are the specialities of disk? Why, what is the need of storing a file system onto the disk? Is there any specific reason? Of course, obviously there is a reason. So there are two main characteristics of the disk. The first one is in place rewrite and the second one is a random access. In place rewrite means, so whenever you want to read the information from a particular location of a file, you can read. Whenever you want to rewrite or modify the contents of the file at particular location in a particular block, immediately we can rewrite the things. Okay, and the next one is a random access. Random access means, so directly you can move to the 14th block and you can read the information. From there directly you can move to the 23rd block. There you can perform the read operation. That means no need to go sequentially one block by block. So you can directly go to the block number and you can directly perform the operation. It may be a read operation or it may be a write operation. So whatever the operation you want to perform on a particular block, you can directly go to that particular block and you can perform the operation. So that is called as a random access. Okay, coming to magnetic tape. Magnetic tapes are also, that magnetic disk is different, magnetic tape is different. So disk is also a secondary storage area, tape is also a secondary storage area, but random access is not possible in the case of magnetic tape. Magnetic tapes are only for sequential access, whereas a magnetic disk is for random access. Random means you can go to any of the block at any moment of time. That means 14th block, and then you want to go to the 23rd block, directly you can go to the 23rd block. Again you want to move back to the third block, directly you can move back to the third block and you can access the information. Right, disk stores information in the form of blocks. Each block is of 512 bytes usually. It is depending upon the size of the disk. The disk size is more, obviously the block size is more. And the next one, coming to file control block. What is file control block? File control block contains information about the file. That means what is the file name, inode number, file storage, sorry, file permissions, what is the, who is the owner of the file, who is the group name of the file, who is the group owner of the file, group ID of the file. And the next, what is the size of the file, when was it created and last modified. And next, what is the name of the file, what is the hard link count. So all these things are available in the file control block. Device drivers, device driver controls the physical device. And the next one, layered file system. So these are the layers, in a layered file system. In tomorrow's class we will discuss a layered file system and the implementation of file system in detail. So do you have any doubts? Let me know. Otherwise, I will wind up the session. Thank you. As I told you many times, do you have any doubts regarding any of the topic? Let me know via WhatsApp so that I will go for the revision. Okay. I will end the session. Thank you.